Steph Curry and Draymond Green would like everyone to remain calm, but the Warriors ship appears to be sinking. Locked On Pelicans presents a very intriguing trade idea. The 2021 NBA draft class shows out, and another Ball brother gets paid. That's all today on Locked On NBA.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On NBA. Thanks for making us your first listen of the day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And we thank the everydayers that are tuning in to Locked On NBA. Today's episode is sponsored by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code Locked On NBA for $20 off your first purchase. I'm Doug Branson, host of Locked On Hornets, and your shot clock Sherpa, guiding you through the NBA's biggest stories with the help of Locked On's local experts. And with me are two of Locked On's premier national NBA experts from the Locked On Nuggets podcast and senior NBA writer for the Action Network. We've got Matt Moore. And from the Locked On Bulls podcast, we've got Hayes. The Golden State Warriors have hit a new low, dropping below 500 after a stunning loss to the very struggling Toronto Raptors. What's going on with the Warriors, and is it fixable, Matt?
We've been talking about this for a while. In the early season, when they were riding high, there was a question about, are they title contenders? And Hayes and I were both like, no. And that kind of turns out to be the case. My biggest thing is that they are simultaneously trying to be three different teams right now. The young guys can't play with the old guys. The old guys can't play with the young guys. And then you have this group of vets in the middle, like Gary Payton Jr., Andrew Wiggins, and the other vets on that squad. They're just really stuck in the middle, and Kerr can't get everybody on the same page. They are not all moving in the same direction. And there's a big disconnect there. And I don't think that this is a Steve Kerr problem. I think that this is you were still trying to not pick a lane. You got to pick a lane. I'm sorry. The new CBA has dictated it. You're either going to be a top heavy team vying for a contender, or you're going to be a cheap team that's younger. You can't be both. I'm sorry. You just can't be. That's just how it is, Hayes.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the Warriors' production over the last 5 games. They're 27th in net rating at a negative 11.7. They're 29th in offensive rating, 21st in defensive rating, and 28th in true shooting percentage. They're a bad basketball team. There should be no surprise they're below 500. Putting up numbers like that in the last 10 games aren't much better than that overall. So, yeah, this team is just... to Matt's point, they have to pick a direction. Now, is it going to be chosen at this trade deadline? I doubt it. But between now and the beginning of next season, the Golden State Warriors have to really look at their roster, look at the construction, do some projecting on what the future could look like depending on which path they do, and decide on the path. They're just going to have to. They've tried this before. I thought that they learned from this experiment after trading away Jordan Poole, but they didn't. You can't live in two worlds. I mean, I say it never works. There are some teams that can make that work, but it doesn't usually work out that way to where you can try to contend and you could try to have these young pieces and develop those young pieces properly. They're going to have to pick a path sooner rather than later.
All right, let's go out to Locked On Warriors, who put the spotlight squarely on the guards not named Steph Curry.
Steph did about all he could. They're just, when you look at all the guards they're playing next to him, the output simply is not good enough, man. It's just not good enough. Look, Wiggins has clearly stepped his effort level up offensively in Kuminga's absence, but even that is not enough. Somebody's got to take some responsibility here on the offensive end besides Steph Curry. Here's the thing about Buddy Hield. When he is on, it is super helpful, and you can see how he can help you win. We've seen it over and over again this year.
But in a playoff series...
Is he ever going to be a guy you can trust? Right, exactly. That's it.
Through an entire playoffs. I mean, that's essentially a half a season, right?
If that's where you want to be, even if you're only planning to win one series, if the playoffs is where you plan and hope to be, is Buddy Hield the guy that you're going to want to be trusting in those situations ever? And my argument would be probably not. I almost think mentally moving on from Buddy Hield as a significant contributor is the best thing for this team.
After the loss, Steph Curry said the team should not make a panic move. Draymond Green said, quote, "The beautiful part about being in the space that we are in is Steve Kerr, Steph Curry, and myself all disagree with mortgaging off the future of this organization, saying that we're going for it right now. Bad teams do that. Bad organizations do that," unquote. Guys, that all sounds very admirable, but aren't they the exact team that should be doing that? Why would Steph and Draymond care about the Warriors' future assets, Hayes?
I don't know, because of what the organization has done and what it's done for them, maybe, I guess. But ultimately, like, if you say that they shouldn't mortgage future assets for now, Dre, then you may need to realize that you may have to sit your butt down. I mean, why'd you take the contract that you did if you wanted this team to not mortgage future assets and develop these guys? Like, eventually something's going to have to give. And Steph and Dre have meant so much to that team and the championship that they had, and I've understood that. But if they don't want to stand in the way of the progress of the Golden State Warriors, do they plan on staying with the Golden State Warriors? That would be my question.
I think if you ask Draymond, should you have loyalty to the team? He'd be like, no, obviously not. Like, these teams always do what's best for them. Like, he's a leader of the NBPA and he understands that dynamic. But he also thinks, like, but my case is different. And, like, does he not realize that if the Bucks called right now and we're like, hey, for Draymond and Kuminga and Pods and 2 firsts, we'll give you Giannis. Like, they couldn't race quick enough to get that deal done. Are you kidding me? And I'll just, again, you can't keep doing this. I'm sorry, you can't. You got to pick a lane. And it's fine if you want to look for the long-term interest of the organization. It's fine if they want to be like, we want to be competitive after Steph and Dre are gone. That's great. Guess what you need to do then? You need to trade Steph Curry and Draymond Green. And no one wants to face that idea, but do not rule it out. Some change for this is inevitable. Something big is going to happen with this team over the next 6 months.
Odds that it happens at this trade deadline, one or more of Steph Curry, Draymond Green is no longer in a Warriors uniform.
0%, because they're still in denial. Like, you have to have an organizational come to Jesus moment where it's like, oh man, like, it's over. Like, we really have to make a change. And that kind of dynamic, I think, is really important to kind of keep in mind. So until that changes, until they give up the ghost, I think there's a 0% chance. But I just think long term, that's where we're headed.
All right, speaking of trades, I spied an interesting trade idea from Locked On Pelicans that would solve problems for the Pels and the team that Hayes covers, the Chicago Bulls. Let's hear that.
Are in the luxury tax. This team ain't paying the luxury tax, especially for this team. So here's the trade. Brandon Ingram and CJ McCollum for Zach LaVine and Lonzo Ball. A little bit weird bringing Lonzo Ball back, but here's the rationale for it. Lonzo Ball is an expiring contract, $21.4 million this season. That comes off your books. That's basically the exact same kind of money that Trey Murphy is going to be adding on to his current salary. That's actually not bad. Then you add Zach LaVine in, and him next to Zion with DeJounte Murray, adding kind of an elite create your own shot scorer like that, who shoots the three really well. I don't know. I'm a little intrigued by that idea.
Okay, Hayes, what do you think? Are you as equally intrigued by that idea for the Chicago Bulls? You'd be getting back Brandon Ingram and CJ McCollum.
No, and not because I can't see what Jake's coming at with that. I understand what it does for his team, but the Bulls are also a team that doesn't like to pay the luxury tax. And I think on top of that, they're moving Zach LaVine. Unless the Pelicans plan on coming off some picks in that move, I don't see the Bulls doing that. That keeps them in the middle where the Bulls have been. That's why I don't like it for the trade. I love the talent of Brandon Ingram, make no mistake about it. And the Bulls were making this move to add Brandon Ingram to Vooch and to Zach LaVine. I'd have a completely different opinion on that. But to send that off, the Bulls stay right in the middle where they have been. And to me, if you're not gaining any type of pick compensation for it, it just doesn't make sense for the Bulls with where they are right now, in my opinion.
I'm trying to figure out how to do this. There's got to be a way we can work this into the Beal deal. There's got to be a way. Because, like, okay, LaVine goes to the Pelicans, and then Ingram goes to the Heat, and then Jimmy Butler goes to the Suns, and then Beal goes to... Damn it. I always get caught on that part. Like, there's no way around it. As far as this goes, like, yeah, this is a lateral move. I'd rather have Zach LaVine 8 days a week. 8 days a week, give me Zach LaVine. Playmaker, three-point shooter. And, like, anyone who trades for Ingram, guess what? You have to pay the contract. You have to give him this massive extension for a guy that I believe does not contribute to you winning games. So I just don't think there's any sort of, like, I don't think there's any reason for it. I like the idea of LaVine to the Pelicans, and I like the idea of CJ and picks and somebody to Chicago. I like that idea, But
the backcourt of DeJounte and Zach LaVine, I would really love to see that backcourt.
And here's the thing: is like the Pelicans are not going to want to give up Herb Jones or Trey Murphy, and the problem is like those are the guys that everybody wants, and you can get a king's ransom for those guys and really cash them in and set yourself up for the future. Like this, I get so frustrated with how teams don't have any sort of like boldness and overhaul in pieces. Make the move of Herb Jones or just one Herb Jones or Trey Murphy on the market, and then use some of what you get back to sweeten the deal and get better return on Zion this summer, and then let Brandon Ingram go. And then like you're starting from a better spot here. Lottery pick, all these different dynamics. There's possibility there, but no one wants to give up the ghost of being competitive.
Okay, coming up on Locked On NBA, we mentioned LiAngelo Ball there. Later on in the show, we're going to talk about another Ball brother who's getting talked about across NBA locker rooms. But up next, the 2021 NBA draft class showed out last night. Cade Cunningham, Jalen Green, they were awesome. We'll talk about what it means for the Pistons and the Rockets coming up. Today's episode of Locked On NBA is brought to you by Wayfair. After the holiday hustle, there's nothing like giving your home a little TLC. I'm talking tender love and care, not the 90s supergroup, although that wouldn't be a bad idea either. Decluttering and refreshing your space can make a world of difference as you settle back into your routine. Whether you're tidying up, clearing out, or just looking to give your home a fresh new look for the year, Wayfair has everything you need, and it's all within your budget. I used Wayfair to design my entire nursery for our newborn. Their massive selection made it easy to find pieces that fit my style perfectly, and the best part, free, hassle-free delivery, even on the bigger items. Plus, their site is so user-friendly, I had everything I wanted in no time, and now it's time to find a comfortable chair that I can watch games in, and I'll be using Wayfair to help me find the perfect one. Give your home the refresh it needs with Wayfair. Head to wayfair.com right now. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. More Locked On NBA ahead. Thanks for making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. Your favorite NBA team has a free and daily newsletter. Go to LockedOnDaily.com. Subscribe and stay up to date with local expert analysis. And you get amazing writing from Katie Heindel, Mike Shearer, and Locked On Fantasy Basketball tips from Josh Lloyd. It was a great night for the 2021 NBA draft class as both Cade Cunningham and Jalen Green put on shows to lead their teams to victory. Let's start with the number one overall selection who dominated the second half of a Pistons win over the New York Knicks. For more, let's go to a very amped Kuka Hill over at Locked On Pistons.
Cade went absolutely berserk in that second half, and that right there is a franchise player. That right there is an all-star. That is an all-NBA player. He went out there and he out-dueled Jalen Brunson in that second half and got his team to win. The guy that everyone's going to have as a starter over him. The guy that everyone's going to have as an all-NBA guy over him. By the way, the Pistons have their dude. This dude is rising up. This dude is putting the world on notice, the national media on notice. Go get somebody. I don't care. I've completely converted to that side. No more playing middle. Once you get a guy like that, I've said it for years. Once you get that guy and you have confidence that he is that dude, you go now. All you do is you go out and you try to get the best players around. Go get that dude.
Okay, Matt, have they found their dude? Has Cade Cunningham officially made the leap? Can Pistons fans breathe a sigh of relief for the first time in what feels like a decade? What do you think? What's his ceiling?
Yes, absolutely. Look, there were signs of this last year. Like, you could see it. Once he started making jumpers, it was like, whoa, okay. So he's a great passer, he's a great defender, and he can now shoot. That's a big deal. And so he's got that package. Still would very much like to see him finish layups. Just like make like a few layups, Cade, and I'm going to feel so much better about it. But like his engine, he is capable of being an engine for a contender. You're not giving up anything on the defensive side. There is a real chance here for them being for them being a contender down the road because of how good Cade is.
Yeah, I mean, they have the guy. To everything Matt said, I agree. Like, yeah, Cade has shown the signs of it. He's continuing to grow as a player, and Cade is on that path to be that guy. But getting that guy in the modern NBA is only the first step. And that's why I do love Kula said, go out and get him some help. Jaden Ivey was shaping up to be that, of course. Unfortunately, you lose him now with injury, but you need to now continue to build around him. Now you have Cade. You know now that this is the piece that you can build around, that you can build with. Now, how you support him, how you continue to fill out this roster, that's the important part. When you look at where the Pistons were last year till now, between coaching changes and Cade developing, Jaden Ivey developing, these players just playing better together, having a coach that believes in them, that's a good first step. They're ahead of where I thought they would be this season, even with the coaching change. Now that Cade is continuing to show that next step to be one of those guys, you just got to continue to build out the team.
Sometimes all it takes is one performance. And was this performance enough to move some of your hesitancy about the Pistons going all in? Because we talked about this yesterday, and I think both of you were a little bit hesitant to push all the chips in for Detroit this season. But has this performance moved you in any way?
Here's the deal. Who can they get, right? Because the problem with these kind of things of like, oh, go get that dude. Okay, what dude wants to be there? That's the problem here. You got to have the dude that wants to be in Detroit, that wants to be part of this bedrock and doesn't want to be the guy. You got to be like, oh, we want you to be the second guy in Detroit. And every player is going to be like, could I just be like the fourth guy on the Lakers? Because that sounds really great. Like, that's the problem with the NBA. And so you got to be very smart about how you build this. You got to be careful. And you don't need to rush it. Because if you rush it, it can go backwards the other way on it. And you get stuck. So you got to be very careful with who that guy is. I don't see that guy right now. I don't see that opportunity. You don't want to clear cap space. So you wouldn't be like, let's go get Jimmy Butler and see how far we can go this year and then let him go in free agency. Because you can't do anything with the money in free agency because you're in Detroit with a young team. You got to wait. You got to be patient. Yes, go get the guy when the guy comes available and it's right. Just be patient and sure.
I don't know how any of the money would work, but could Zach LaVine be that dude?
I mean, could be. They have $14 million in cap space, so that gets them a little bit of the way there. It depends on how they combine the other contracts. But then again, the Bulls don't have an open roster spot, so they'd have to match the exact number of players they're bringing in as they send out. But I think the Pistons sit in a place now where, I get it, you don't want to make a move just to make a move, but having that $14 million in cap space right now, that is a chip that you probably now with what Cade has shown and with the injury to Jaden Ivey, you may want to cash that in and go out and get somebody if it makes sense for your roster.
There's something to be done with Zach LaVine going to Denver, Michael Porter Jr. going to the Pistons, and assets going back to the Bulls. I just don't know. Like, I feel like there's a missing piece there, component of it. That's a big contract, but not a huge one for Detroit. He's been on the floor. It's basically like upgrading over Tobias Harris, right? And so like you're just trying to navigate that area. It's like you're taking Harris and you're taking an upgrade on him. But I think it's like an interesting kind of concept, at least, to solve the Bulls' problems, get the Pistons another guy, and shake up the Nuggets. There's probably something to be done there, but I don't know what it is.
I love it. Just a couple of weeks out from the trade deadline, we are wheeling and dealing here on this episode of Locked On NBA. Let's go to Jalen Green and the Houston Rockets. Jalen served up a 40-burger to lift the Rockets over the Memphis Grizzlies. The Rockets have won all 3 games they've played against the team that sits just below them in third place in the West standings. Here's Jackson Gatlin of Locked On Rockets on the player that has finally helped unlock Jalen Green's potential.
Houston Rockets rally from down 13 in the fourth quarter to beat the Memphis Grizzlies. Jalen Green leading the way offensively, tying his career high with 42 points, including the go-ahead bucket to put the Rockets in front for good. A big part of the success, I think, that you're seeing from Jalen Green over this most recent stretch, really ever since Amin Thompson entered the starting lineup, is the speed at which this Rockets team plays at. To have Amin Thompson out there, to be able to shoulder taking the toughest guard defensive assignment, to be able to be so impactful on the defensive side of the ball and basically ignite so many fast break and transition opportunities that then gets Jalen going. The kick ahead pass to Jalen Green, where he was then able to step back into a three-pointer in rhythm, knocking down a huge shot there in the fourth. Moments like that aren't possible without Amin Thompson.
Is a Jalen Green heater in May and June going to be the difference between the Rockets contending for a championship or flaming out in the second round, Hayes?
It can be. I think that when Jalen Green, we saw it last year, when Jalen was locked in on both sides of the ball last year to finish that season as strong as that he finished it, you can see the potential that Jalen Green is. The problem is he's not consistent with it. But if he goes on a heater to end this season and in the playoffs, it definitely can make a difference, because when he's on and locked in and scoring in the rate that he can, like it's flawless. It's beautiful to watch. I just don't know if I trust yet how consistently he can do it, and then how the pressure kicks up in the playoffs. He hasn't really had to face that yet. So that I would have to see how he adjusts to that. But if he gets out at the right time, absolutely.
Flawless, I think, is a little strong.
Okay, that's fair.
Look, he's been great since Thanksgiving, and I know this because Ben DuBose, who runs Rockets Wire, sends me the update on Jalen's stats since Thanksgiving after every good game. And so I get those constantly to get my Jalen Green update. Jalen this season, still 39th percentile from three-point range, 34.5%. 66% at the rim, that's better than it ever has been in his career. He's starting to make layups. He's shooting 30% from mid-range. I get it. I'm giving you numbers. I'm giving you the nerd stuff. I get it. But like, this matters. If you're going to be a volume scorer, you have to shoot efficiently, or you're just wasting stuff. Do we look at this Rockets offense and really go like, that's why they're going to be able to make a championship run? No, it's their defense. And maybe if Jalen goes on the heater of all heaters, they can reach a finals appearance. We can see consistently every year of this guy's career that he plays great in stretches and then bottoms out, because there's not a baseline floor of efficiency. And until you show me that, I'm not buying in on Jalen Green.
If he continues to play at this level, does it open up trade opportunities for the Houston Rockets, who have consistently said they want to see this thing out? But if he's playing that well, either trading Jalen Green or possibly Fred VanVleet, or opening up something for the Rockets.
Yeah, I mean, look, the path I see, they get through this year. They have a fun playoff run. The Kings losing the play-in tournament. De'Aaron Fox asked out. You look and you go, yeah, Jalen Green, he had a really good season. I mean, look at all those points he scored. Wow. Okay, that makes it a little sweeter on us. We'll take one of the Suns picks. We'll take Jalen Green and a Rockets pick along with whatever else. We'll take that. You decline the option for Fred VanVleet, and now you have cap space in an attractive NBA market with De'Aaron Fox, a bunch of dogs, and Ime Udoka, and you can build a championship roster this summer by putting that combo together. That, to me, is the path.
I love that path. I have nothing to add to that.
All right, coming up on Locked On NBA, LiAngelo Ball, his song is sweeping across NBA locker rooms as Matt Moore. We got a lot of shaking heads. We've got a lot of shrugging shoulders, but I want these two, Matt and Hayes, to build me a playlist with some song titles and some NBA players and teams to match. You won't want to miss it here on Locked On NBA. Today's episode of Locked On NBA is brought to you by Game Time. Win or lose, rain or shine, there's nothing like being there in person at a live event. Whether it's a big game, a concert, or a comedy show, Game Time makes it easier than ever to find great tickets at amazing prices. And with their new feature, Game Time Picks, you can skip the endless scrolling and get right to the best deals on incredible seats. It's all about saving you time and money while finding the perfect tickets. Plus, you can use the super deal option to score top-notch seats at unbeatable prices. Game Time also gives you features that make buying tickets stress-free, like the all-in pricing feature when you toggle it on, no surprise fees at checkout, and you get a panoramic seat view so you know exactly what your view will look like before you buy. Take all the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA, LOCKEDON-NBA, for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. Today's episode is also brought to you by Hungry Root. When it comes to grocery shopping and meal planning, I've always struggled to find the time between work, life, and talking NBA basketball to try and eat healthier. I'd buy things that I didn't need and still end up stressed out about what to cook. But then I discovered Hungry Root. It's been a total game changer. Hungry Root handles your grocery shopping and meal planning, recommending meals based on your taste and health goals. From anti-inflammatory to high-protein options, they've got it all. And the best part, every meal is ready in 15 minutes or less. Quick, healthy, and delicious meals delivered straight to your door. It doesn't get easier than this. Even my toddler, who is among the pickiest eaters I know, loved every single meal I made with Hungry Root. It made me feel like a rock star in the kitchen. You're going to love Hungry Root as much as I do. For a limited time, you get 40% off your first box and a free item in every box for life. Go to hungryroot.com/LockedOnNBA and use code LockedOnNBA. That's hungryroot.com/LockedOnNBA and the promo code LockedOnNBA. hungryroot.com/LockedOnNBA, code LockedOnNBA. Don't miss out. More Locked On NBA ahead. Despite the attitudes of my co-host, I am going to talk about this LiAngelo Ball song. Brother of Lonzo and LaMelo Ball, he struggled to break into NBA locker rooms with his play, but you can't get close to an NBA locker room right now without hearing his song Tweaker playing. Shams Charania has an update on LiAngelo's music career, tweeting out that Ball has signed a deal with Def Jam and Universal Music Group in a deal worth as much as $13 million and $8 million guaranteed.
It's not the end of the world, but we can see it from here.
I don't know. It seems like a fine song. All right. I'm not going to ask you to comment on the terms of the deal, but in honor of LiAngelo's success, I would like Matt and Hayes to give me a song title and an NBA player or team that it most represents. Matt, we will start with you.
Ooh, I bet you're wondering how I knew about your plans to make me blue. Heard it through the grapevine, Miami Heat, as Jimmy Butler and the Heat keep sending signals back and forth to each other. And in just a really sad ending of the breakup. One of the best breakup songs of all time. I'm going with Heard It Through the Grapevine for the Heat.
That was such a good rendition of that song. I'm a little worried that YouTube is going to put some restrictions on the monetization here.
If that happens, that's one of the biggest compliments paid to Matt Moore.
That's right. Okay, that's good. What do you think about that, Hayes? Heard It Through the Grapevine. They have been dueling it out. You have Pat Riley going on the Dan Le Batard show. You've got Jimmy Butler doing Instagram lives at his Big Face coffee shop. Can we get these two in a room already?
Yeah, can we get them in the room? I don't know how those sparks are going to fly if they do get in the room. So
I don't
Let's give him in the ring.
All right.
That's what we need to do. We need to give him in the ring. Mama said knock you out. There's another one.
Oh, okay. You want to start? You want to do some lyrics from that one too?
Well,
pass.
All right. Hayes, what's your song?
I think at this point, and I think as this keeps on going, Ether by Nas for Jimmy Butler and Pat Riley. I think that's the route that this is going. I think this is absolutely the route that's going.
You know what? I'm going to go opposite here. I think somehow this ends up with Jimmy Butler continuing to play for the Miami Heat. I know people keep telling me that it's not going to happen, and not past this season, but I think they're going to find some detente here because the NBA trade market, and going back to the conversations that we've had all through the show, like the NBA trade market just seems to be seizing up due to this, due to all the CBA hoops the teams have to jump through. And I think they're going to find a way to survive this and get to the offseason where something can happen a little bit easier.
I don't trust Jimmy. I just don't trust Jimmy. I just think he'll blow it up. He's got too much. He's got 3 weeks to blow this up. I think there's no end to the amount of chaos he can cause. I will tell you, Doug, that the one I actually first thought of when you asked us for this prompt, when you asked us for this question, the first lyric that came to my mind was another Motown song, which was, I can't help myself, with how much that they love somebody. And that was me and Russell Westbrook, where I've loved Russ's career the entire time. And he's been so great. And yet it's like, he takes such bad shots and the turnovers are so terrible. And he misses all these layups. I just can't help myself. There's something about watching Russ that is so great.
This is another segment that we do on the show. Is this something? And I meant to get to this when we last talked about Jimmy Butler. But since we last talked about him, you've had NBA veterans falling all over themselves to jump on NBA radio or some TV show to talk about this situation. And Tony Allen, Tim Hardaway Sr., and they've all had sort of negative things to say about Jimmy Butler and like, hey, don't mess with Pat Riley. Is there something to these NBA veterans jumping out of the woodwork to talk about this situation? Is there anything there? Is that something?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, hey, let me know what you think first.
Yeah, I mean, I think there is. I think like players look at what Pat Riley did. Like, I think people forget that when Jimmy Butler left Philly, like there was a lot of doubt around Jimmy Butler and just his whole attitude, and if teams are going to be willing to deal with this crap. And so when he went to the Miami Heat, that he was embraced by Pat Riley, he was embraced by Heat culture. Not to say he didn't have his dust-ups, he didn't bump heads at times, but he was embraced in that. They allowed Jimmy Butler to really be Jimmy Butler, and they built around, in a lot of ways, his skill set. Like, at this point, I think that some former NBA players are looking at that like you're in some way biting the hand that fed you. Like, you can want out, that's fine, but the way you're going about it, I think, is just crappy. And I think that's what we're seeing reflected by NBA players now.
I want to compliment Hayes real quick, because crap is the right word for all this stuff that comes with Jimmy. Like, there's no, I've been like, he comes with a lot of baggage and he comes with a lot of issues. And it's like, no, he comes with a lot of crap. There's just a lot of crap that comes with Jimmy Butler. And some crappy play from time to time right now anyway. I will say this is an issue because players never get in the middle of a guy wanting his money. Like, that's a big thing in the brotherhood of the NBA. Is you do not mess with the money. And so for them to be like, look, man, get your money, but this is disrespectful and awful. Like, this is one of the most respected organizations that you're doing this to. To me, that's indicative of the entire thing. And I'll just continue to say to anybody who's looking to trade for him, and maybe this isn't in your favor, Doug, for no deal getting done. Who else wants to deal with this crap?
All right, my song. Well, great dismount, Matt. I mean, perfect. You do this for a living? That was great. My song will be Mo Money, Mo Problems by Notorious B.I.G., and it's going to go to Anthony Edwards. He accumulated his latest fine from the NBA for a gesture towards a referee, $50,000. You add that all up, $286,000 in fines this season for Anthony Edwards for a number of things. And I did some math here, and that represents less than 1% of his $42,176,200 that he is owed this season by the Minnesota Timberwolves. So less than 1%. So I looked up the average salary in the United States. That's $66,621. That would represent, for the average salary, a $400 fine. So that's a high-class speeding ticket. But that's a number of fines all jammed in there together. $286,000. It's a lot of money.
Yeah, it's like pocket change for him. It's like, that's the thing. It's like, it's still like pocket change.
It hasn't moved him to stop yet.
Every time that the players are like, why do I have to talk to you media members? I start to get insulted. And then I just remember, if you make that much money, how do you possibly feel that you should have to answer questions from any of these schmucks? Like, it makes a lot of sense when you think about the paychecks they get and then having to deal with this nonsense.
All right, let us know what you think on YouTube, youtube.com/@LockedOnNBA. Put it in the comments, and we read your comments last week. Maybe we do it again at the end of this week, so let us know what you think. Thanks so much for making Locked On NBA your first listen. Oh, and if you have a song title for a player or a team, comment that on the YouTube as well. We'll definitely read those. If they're appropriate. Enjoy tonight's action. Maybe we'll make Matt sing them. There we go. That will inspire the folks to throw some stuff in there. Enjoy tonight's action. Be kind to each other. We'll see you right back here on Wednesdays, Locked On NBA.